Hi, ladies and gents, and Christoph the Polish Geek welcomes you to the review of Castlevania Nocturne Season 2. And I have to say, I was really impressed by it. I actually think it was, for the most part, it was actually excellent. I mean, there were several parts that I didn't like. I mean, there were even two that I would say outright hated, but the vast majority of things I actually loved this season. Like, there were two things I hated, but we'll get to them later. But I think it was a gigantic improvement over season 1. Like, yep, I actually loved most of the things in season 2, and because of that I even decided to wear this shirt because, yes, I got this shirt like a year and a half ago at this point in Paris, and this is related to Paris catacombs, and because even it takes place in French Revolution and Paris catacombs even did make an appearance here with skulls and all them, I decided to wear this shirt from Paris catacombs for this video. And as I said, the season for the most part was excellent and a huge improvement over season 1. And well, let's start though with the animation, which as always was spectacular and gorgeous. Like, the animation is simply beautiful in the show. I mean, the show still isn't as good as the first series, but I very much now consider it as a worthy successor and a perfect legacy sequel. If I wanted to do now a Castlevania marathon, I would certainly watch the first 4 seasons, obviously, but I certainly would then follow it with the 2 seasons of Nocturne. Though, the first flaw though I have with the season, and this is something that was actually a similar case with Castlevania Season 4 actually, it's not, and also Season 2 of Blood of Zeus actually, but this seems to be a similar problem of all those shows from Powerhouse Animation. I mean, like, but this seems to be a common problem at this point, because as I said, the same problem I had with Season 2 of Blood of Zeus as well as Season 4 of Castlevania, but it seems like a story for like 2 or 3 seasons, because there was admittedly quite a lot in that story. It seems like they were trying to cram pin up so many things, and all those things were fascinating and interesting, and I really liked them, but it does feel like that was very much a story worthy of like 2 or 3 seasons, and it seems like they were trying to cramp up so many things into only 1 season. So yes, that's the first major flaw of it. It's not something I would say hated about it, but I do think it could use a little room of improvement if they simply maybe had like told it like 2 or 3 seasons. But as I said, that was a similar problem already with Season 2 of Blood of Zeus as well as Season 4 of the first Castlevania series. And I also really loved, on the other hand, how this season, on the other hand, almost every episode started with a flashback, dating back to either like many years before or something like that, like even hundreds, thousands of years before and all that. And I really liked those flashbacks. They very much gave full context to the story and gave more backstory about how Elizabeth Bathory came to be in the first place and all that. Like, yep, I really love those flashbacks, as well as I love the use of various world mythologies, like voodoo, of course, as well as Egyptian mythology and all that. And because Castlevania basically always used various different world mythologies as well as monsters from those mythologies, and I really loved how they very much implemented the lore and all that into the story, the lore of all those mythologies and all that. And speaking of which, another thing I really loved is the implementation of French Revolution in the story, because in the first season I would say the French Revolution was more like a backdrop, but I can't really say it played a huge part in the story, but in this one it was very wonderfully implemented in the story. And even some historical events were shown, like the execution of King Louis XVI, as well as, I already knew it from the trailer 2 days before, but Maximilien Robespierre also made a cameo, but in that case my worries sadly came true. Like, he was kind of presented as a good guy, which I wasn't particularly fond of, because as a history buff, if I'm being honest, I don't have a very high opinion of him. I think like that dude was evil, so I guess I'm not particularly fond of the fact that they basically made him on the good guy's side. But then again, on the other hand, like, it's not like he played a big role in the story anyway, and that was like, and it's not like they say he was a good guy, it's more like they showed him allying with the good guys because it suited his cause. So I guess I can look past that, even though I do wish that maybe he was one of those turned into a vampire or something, although it wouldn't be historically accurate anyway, so I can look past that. What I also cannot believe is that this season managed to actually make Annette far more likable, like, because I very much didn't like her in season 1. I thought I really hated her, like, snobbish and, like, self-centered attitude. She just, like, felt, like, so self-entitled, and the way she just treated Richter was just, like, disrespectful, wrong, but this season very much, like, feels like flipped her around and, like, made her far more likable. Like, I mean, she still is nowhere near one of my favorite characters, but I'm glad now she's far more likable than she was in season 1, and her romance with Richter Belmont totally worked for me. And on the other hand, the character that I actually liked far less is Maria Renard, because in the first season and in the video games, Maria Renard is literally one of my favorite characters, but here it sometimes almost feels like they basically completely reverse the personalities of her and Annette, because here she acted much more snobbish and self-centered. But my biggest issue, and that's now one of the things I very much hated this season, we're getting the first thing I hated, like her complete anti-religion stance, like okay, I understand maybe she didn't like her father, the abbot, because of what he did and all that, but her like complete anti-religion stance, like why, like, yep, I really hated that. Like, they didn't have to make her like completely this anti-religion, like, but that also ties a bigger problem. I really wish they implemented also more of Christian lore and all that into the story. Like, the first season had plenty of it. Like, the first season I never really considered anti-church like most people. Like, the Bishop of Greyjet and his cronies were like a corrupt small faction of the church, but the actual church was implied to be actually like the church is supposed to be, especially that there is even one good priest shows up in the first series that then turns water into holy, and then holy water is used to fight demons. So yes, the first season I never really considered anti-Christian, and I actually really liked how they implemented the Christian lore into the story, but this season in general lacked it. Like, outside of the abbot and the church really being the Forge Masters, which could actually be an interesting story, but instead they just like turned them like each church bad. Yep, I really hated that, and I really also, as I said, hated that Maria Renard's complete anti-religion stance, although I just try to think of it as her being just a rebellious teenager. But either way, I hated it. And of course, we've probably all been anticipating a return of Alucard ever since he wonderfully showed up at the last second of the first season, and his return did not disappoint. And I really love how they very much honored the character, and he was just like badass and awesome in all his full glory. The only thing I wish is that they did show his romance with Maria Renard like in the video games, but oh well. Can have everything, and as I already said, so it's the show tried to cram up too many things into the story anyway, although the very last scene does imply that they might have a romance, the way Maria Renard is just looking at him. And of course, who I also been talking about in my last trailer reaction, like Mizrak is back, because Mizrak was possibly my favorite character in the first season, and his return did not disappoint. Like, I really like his character arc and all that, and one of the other major issues I had with the first season was actually how his romance with Orlax was like basically contrary to his like vows as a priest and a hospitaller, but I'm glad this show very much fixed that problem, and now it very much addressed how it very much conflicts with his faith, and because of that he very much struggles with it and feels like he's sinning against God. And I'm really glad that this show fixed that mistake. And while I did love Mizrak for the most part, I said I do wish there was more of him, but then again, as I said, it's probably because the show tried to cram up so many things to it anyway. But here we are coming to another thing I very much hated, and this is the ending for Mizrak. So now, spoiler alert. Huge spoiler. So I'm warning you, if you don't want any spoilers, suggest you leave, because I'm about to spoil what happens to Mizrak at the end. Still with me? Well, Orlok turns him into a vampire, and I really hated that. Like, I think it was certainly not the ending that this awesome character deserved. Like, he does get mortally wounded at some point, and then he's about to die, and as much as I loved Mizrek, I honestly feel that for a noble knight hospitaller actually dying and maybe then having show us him ascending to heaven, that would be a far better and far more deserving ending, and also character like here he got. Like, he certainly did not deserve to turn into a vampire, and it does kind of feel like an insult to his character and the faith, but oh well. So yes, those are the two things I hated. The ending of Mizrek, as well as Maria Renard's anti-religion stance, which isn't even consistent with her stance in the games, but oh well. Other than those things, I think that Season 2 of Castlevania Nocturne was excellent and a gigantic improvement over Season 1. And I'm also glad that this season was not devoid like of any unexpected moments and twists, actually. Like, the final episode had a very interesting twist I completely didn't predict, even though it was very much interestingly set up through flashbacks and all that. But all I will say about the twist without spoiling much, I was complaining how I wasn't sure that I wanted Drolta back, but I would say I was wrong. I now at the end think that the return of Drolta was very much worth it, and I'm really glad they did it, because the final twist at the end was really cool and interesting. So here is my review of Castlevania Nocturne. Huge improvement over Season 1, and overall I had a really great time with it, and I think that while it's still not as good as the first Castlevania series, I'm now glad to consider Castlevania Nocturne a worthy successor, and if I ever do a Castlevania marathon of all seasons, I'll be glad to include Nocturne in it. And one last thing, I'm really hoping there is no more, because the creators said that depending on the show's success, depends if they'll make more or not, more shows like Castlevania, but I'm really hoping maybe they mean like show in a similar style, or maybe I guess like spin-offs, because honestly, the era of Castlevania Nocturne seems over. Like, this last episode felt very much like a full, complete story, so yes, I'm hoping there is no more. At least no more in the time period of Castlevania Nocturne. If they do wanna keep going to Castlevania, maybe they should just like go into the future and focus on Soma Cruz and all that. I mean, the story again will be quite different, but overall, I really think that that should be the ending, because Castlevania Nocturne ended very well, and I think like there's just no more story to tell, at least not in that time period. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out this review. Press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you later in another video. Talk to you later, bye.